actually I have an assistant coach now. So I only do the coaching on the calls. I do 2 calls per week. I coach. My assistant, she's the one that does all the coaching inside of the group.
Welcome, Lisa.
Hi. Thank you so much for having me on, Lori. I am super excited about this.
Likewise. So let's just start. Tell me who you are and what you do.
Okay. So my name is Lisa Callahan, and I work with women from across the globe to help them beat self-sabotage, and I help them go on a journey of self-discovery so that they can identify their invisible emotional relationship with food so that they can get to the root cause of their emotional eating struggles, which I didn't know was a thing before I started this.
Right. So give me a little background. Tell me the 17 different things you used to do until you now just do this one thing.
Yeah. So I started back in, 1992. I think I was the youngest personal fitness trainer in my personal fitness trainer class. And I was 19. I did that for decades and decades and decades. Then I added to that licensed massage therapist. I became sort of very well known in my field of sports, which then I got into triathlon. Of course, I had to go all the way to the Ironman. So I did a couple of those and also started massaging all of the athletes that were in my area. So every time that I challenged myself to do something new, I became a coach of that. So continuing on my journey and becoming a health coach. And I kind of thought that that's where I wanted to land. And then I realized that I was just still carrying all the hats and really didn't know how to drop one of them so that I could actually really focus on one of them. Does that make sense?
It does, because I remember the day, I think you were actually joining a coaching call, if my memory serves, from one of your clients' houses where you were like, this is my last, this is my last in-person massage. I'm done. Yeah. I can see it. I need to let this go and I'm done. And I think you were you would often call in from the car or different clients' homes to get coaching so that you could move sort of into this freedom sort of based lifestyle that you really wanted, right?
Yeah. And interestingly enough, that really terrified me. And it was through coaching that it was just okay, Lisa, cut the cord. And I was like, are you sure? Am I really ready? And I realized that I needed that kick off the diving board. I needed it. That was what I needed.
Talk to me a little bit about sort of what's gone on over the last year with your business and how I know that hiring for you was very challenging personally, letting go and giving people opportunities to help you, giving people opportunities to shine and really sort of make it their own, given the way that you worked. What was sort of the initial motivation for you to build a team?
I teach self-discovery. So I'm always looking inside myself, period. That's step one for me. And I continue to feel, everything from a logical standpoint was working very well. I continue to keep 70, close to 100 members in my community almost at all times. So my sales were fairly well. But I realized that I wasn't living the life that I had actually bargained for in a way, because I was still doing that same thing with putting on all the hats. I was the bookkeeper, I was the post person, I was doing everything. And I started to realize that I was taking this new opportunity and falling back into the same patterns that I had before. So some of that was a limiting belief on myself that caused me to believe that I was really good at being spontaneous. And I felt organization was something that I was actually uncomfortable with. I was like, I don't work that well. I work when it's a hot mess and I can just rally it all together. I was used to like herding cats, you know, it was comfortable to me. And that's exactly the opposite of what I teach, right? Because, you know, sometimes we can get stuck in a like comfortably uncomfortable place. Well, I had taken the same thing that I was doing before, and I kind of brought that negative behavior into this. And I realized that, I think I shared this before with you, but like, if you want to go far, if you want to go fast, go alone. Like you can go, and you might get fast, but you're going to burn out. And that's what I was doing. I was starting to burn out. And so if you want to go far, you got to go with others. And it was a big leap of faith for me to take people in and allow them to help me. I didn't like asking for help. And I realized that.
And one of the things that we would talk about, which I think was impactful for you, is this idea of like the creativity, like you do things on the fly. And because I'm very much like that too, right? I go rogue a lot. Well, I used to, I can't anymore to my own dismay. We were very similar, like our brains, like we are very similar in how we think and how we would prefer to operate. Mm-hmm. You know, if we would prefer it to be this way, because that just feels actually more natural, I think, to just do things on the fly and not to have to communicate and just execute and handle all the things yourself. Yep. And then there comes a point where you actually start to realize, at least this was my experience, that is supremely selfish, because you're actually putting constraints around impact. Right? When you are operating in that way, like always sort of last minute, always in reaction, you know, you're not doing your community justice, because things aren't thought through, stuff happens. And then when you start to have a team, you cannot operate that way because they get freaking nervous.
Yeah. And it's interesting because, and I'll just share that I would say in the last like couple of months, I actually switched into like more, I had hired from within my company, meaning that girls that had gone through my program, like I said, had taken just this voice of their own. They wanted to be involved. And I started to recognize that, as amazing as that is, because it's wonderful to hire from within because they're passionate and purposeful about what I'm teaching, and that's amazing. I realized that from a business standpoint, there was a specific job that I really had to hire out for, like to really, you know, like almost as if like, I know you have like a CEO, like you can't, you know, you have to have like a person that's a CEO, right? Yeah. So with that being said, I recently like hired out and even have my first man working for my team, which is interesting because it's a women's group and I never thought that I would have a man working for us, but one of my VA assistants is a man, which is amazing. He's does a fantastic job.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it really is. But I recognize now within this last few months that now I'm doing more sales calls, which that's what I'm fantastic at. I have probably, I'm going to say like close to a 90% close rate on my sales calls. And I shifted from doing them just on the call. I will only do them face-to-face on Zoom. I want to see the person. I want to talk to the person. That has gotten my rates higher. Now, I wouldn't recommend that when you first start because I had to have the script and I knew what I was doing. Now I only do face-to-face, and that has made such a change. But because I have more time, now I can take more sales calls. I couldn't do it before.
And it's so, yes. And it's so interesting because at the beginning, you know, the job is basically sales and marketing and coaching. Like at the beginning, after you've built everything, that's where your time is. Your time is marketing, creating content, and doing sales calls or some type of sales conversation, whatever that looks like. Coaching your clients and like doing the admin work. And then everything else gets left behind.
Just saying that, let me just say this, which is amazing too. I actually I have an assistant coach now. So I only do the coaching on the calls. I do 2 calls per week. I coach. My assistant, she's the one that does all the coaching inside of the group. So like in my Facebook group, my private group, she does the coaching. I also have a teacher that comes in and once a week teaches a lesson out of the Learning Hub. So it's like I have now support even for coaching, which I thought I would only ever be the one that did that. But I have other people that do that now with me, which is amazing.
Yeah, that's amazing. Talk to me a little bit about maybe some of the things that you've had to work through to sort of be the boss, and what that feels like for you.
Well, and we've talked about this before. I feel like that we've talked about these words, like the difference between control and freedom. And I really feel that doing it all by myself was like, for me anyways, and I know that wording is, important to everybody in a different way, but for me, I felt like that meant that I had to control every little piece of everything. And being able to have this team actually gives me freedom because I can bounce ideas off of people. I mean, ultimately it's my business. There are certain things like my private Facebook group, and we have close to 4,000 in the group now. I've agreed with my team that other than the Facebook manager, who she helps me with a lot of stuff, like I like to do the posting in there. I like it. I like talking to them. I like doing. For the other stuff, like other people can do that. And it's nice to have that freedom to be able to have that trust, because I think that's what I was, lacking, right? So I felt like if I had to control everything, I didn't do a great job at everything. Yeah. I do a great job at like one or two things. Not
yes. It's so interesting. And I think it just speaks to your point, like the freedom of it all. Like I always thought for so long, and I said this to you too, we've had many conversations about this. It's like, you're not doing it wrong. This is just, it's your way. Like this, you have to sort of take the lessons, take the frameworks, internalize them, and then be like, no, this is the way that I do it. This is the way that my brain works. And you're not doing it wrong. But the catch-22, which I think a lot of people dismiss or are too afraid, is you have to know the strategy.
Yeah.
To be able to do it your way.
You're right.
Right?
Yeah. But even, and I'll go back to like you helping me name my program. And it's like, so I work with emotional eating. And I remember saying to you specifically, I said, well, like, I know, like I've looked up like all the binge eating sites, and I've looked up emotional eating, and I've looked up all this stuff. And, and I really, like, to me, it's just a thing. And I said, and I wanted to use the word crush because I just find that word to be like very, very powerful and very like, I don't know, it feels like it opens to me, like crush, And you said, well, just call it a thing then. How about crush that food thing? And I was just like, oh, I'm like, I could call a program a thing. And you're like, sure, why not?
Yeah. Like, why not? Right?
I made like this movement around it. Like, it's amazing. They call my client, they're like, hey, crushers, they call it's very cute. It's
I love that.
Really been,
oh my God.
Really cool thing. And for you, like, I'll never like forget you naming that. You're like, well, if you want to call it a thing, then just call it a thing. And I'm like, really? You're like, of course, why not?
Because it's permission, right? It's like, yes, it's permission to just have that level of like heart and soul and like authenticity, where it's like there, one of the things that clients say to me all the time is like, I have to nail it. I'm like, oh, there's no such thing. I was like, no, we don't talk like that here. No, like it's not do or die. There's a continuum always. If you could tell the people listening one thing that would just get them to move in a direction instead of just being like, I don't know, what would it be?
Get out of your own way. Recognize when you're the one that's standing in your own way. And you'll also always, because there's no fantasy land where you can keep your exact same life that you have now. And this was something that you said in one of the very beginnings of the trainings. And I remember hearing this. You were like, don't think that you're going to, work out at 4:00 in the morning and then, go to work for the entire day and then take your grandma and your kids and and do all this stuff. And, don't think that you can have your entire day packed from like sun up till sundown and do this thing. Like if it's on your plate and it's like there's no more room, it's because you've ordered it. And so you're going to have to stop ordering some other things so you can allow yourself to pick up this new stuff. You have to be able to do that. That is something that you have to be able to do. And so I think that what happens is people get themselves stuck because they don't want to. They're like, well, I'm happy in my life. I like what I'm doing. I like training my clients. I have had other women that I have sent to you from, referrals and stuff that I'll call them like, hi, how you doing with 10K, whatever. Well, like I'm opening a gym and I'm taking a new client. I'm like, but if you want to do this, you have to actually stop doing that or change at least a little bit, right? I had to lessen my schedule. Like I couldn't massage people 12 hours a day and do that. I couldn't. And why would I?
If you think about it, it's space, right? You can't, if the box is full, like full to the brim where you like need duct tape to like get the lid on. And then you want to go add an entire new box into the box that's already full. You cannot. You can push it down. The box is going to break.
Yep.
The box is going to break. And I think people don't realize,
right,
that this is a business. It's a living, breathing organism. It requires, like a baby, it requires your attention and your time and your energy like a human being, because it's a living, breathing, evolving organism.
And so they have this vision in the future of how it's going to look when they have this great, thriving, running business. Yes. And that means that you have to change something about what you're doing.
This baby analogy, and you have to hold it when it shits in your arms.
Exactly. Yes.
Like, when it leaks out the diaper all over you and you're running out the door, like, that's also parenting.
Yeah, exactly. I think we've just found your next new book, Lori.
That's right. Oh my God. The business do list. That's so funny. That's amazing. Well, thank you for this conversation. I hope that those of you listening got some good nuggets, and just, I'm always aiming to be really honest and really truthful about what this journey looks like, and to give you the evidence from just, real people, not the necessarily like million shiny people on Instagram who are content creators, because it's not the same thing, and that could be a whole other podcast. Being a content creator is not the same thing as being a coach running a coaching business.
Correct.
Which now I'm going to have to do a podcast about. But thank you so much. Congratulations. It's been such an honor and a joy to like witness you and to just have the dialogue with you. And thank you everybody for listening, and we will talk soon.
Thank you.